Whether you're running a single Bitcoin miner in your garage or a massive mining facility with thousands of machines, the goal is the same: make more money than you spend. But in Bitcoin mining, profits aren't guaranteed. In fact, miners can, and often do, lose money. In this video we'll break down exactly how miners earn revenue, what costs they face, and the moments when the numbers just don't add up. Bitcoin miners earn their income by performing a crucial job: adding new blocks to the blockchain, the public ledger that records every Bitcoin transaction ever made. Whenever a miner successfully discovers and mines a new block, they receive not just one, but two distinct sources of revenue. The first is the block reward, a fixed amount of newly created Bitcoins that come into existence only when a block is mined. It's essentially Bitcoin's built-in distribution method, releasing new coins into the economy in a predictable, mathematical way. The second income stream is transaction fees. Every transaction waiting to be confirmed carries a small fee, and when miners choose which transactions to include in their block, they collect all of those fees as additional earnings. These fees can fluctuate throughout the day depending on network activity, sometimes adding a modest bonus, and other times becoming a significant portion of a miner's total revenue. Together, these two components, the freshly minted block reward and the ever-changing pool of transaction fees, form the financial backbone of Bitcoin mining. The halving is a built-in event in Bitcoin's design that happens roughly every 4 years. When it occurs, the amount of new Bitcoin miners earn for mining a block is cut in half. This means Bitcoin becomes harder to earn over time, and fewer new coins enter circulation with each cycle. The halving is one of the key mechanisms that keeps Bitcoin scarce, predictable, and resistant to inflation. The block reward is the core source of income for most miners. It's the prize they earn for successfully adding a new block to Bitcoin's blockchain. But this reward doesn't stay the same forever. In fact, it's built to shrink. By design, Bitcoin reduces the block reward by half roughly every 4 years, an event known as the halving. Each halving tightens the margins. The same work, the same energy, the same hardware, suddenly earns only half the Bitcoins it did the day before. And because these rewards keep shrinking with every cycle, miners are pushed to chase greater efficiency just to maintain the income they once had. More optimized hardware, cheaper electricity, smarter operation, all become necessary for survival. As the halving cycles continue, the pressure only intensifies. Miners who adapt thrive. Those who don't get left behind. The shrinking reward is a reminder: in Bitcoin mining, standing still isn't an option. Miners also earn money from transaction fees. Every time someone sends Bitcoin, they attach a fee to motivate miners to include their transaction in the next block. When the network gets crowded, like during bull markets, major news events, or sudden waves of new users, these fees can surge dramatically as people compete for limited block space. In those moments, transaction fees alone can sometimes outweigh the entire block reward, turning a single block into a surprisingly profitable payout for the miner who finds it. But the opposite is also true. During slow periods, when activity is low and fewer people are transacting, fees can fall to just a tiny fraction of what they were during busy times. This makes transaction fees a highly unpredictable income stream. Some days they're a welcome bonus. Other days they barely move the needle at all. Let's break it down more clearly. At the moment, miners earn somewhere between about 3.3 and 5 Bitcoin for each block they successfully mine. That range depends heavily on transaction fees. Some days the network is calm and fees are modest, and other days a surge of activity can push fees much higher, adding a significant bonus on top of the fixed block reward. But the real twist comes from Bitcoin's price. Because the value of Bitcoin is always moving, the actual dollar value of a block can swing wildly from one period to the next. And since miners pay their bills in dollars, not Bitcoin, every price swing directly affects their bottom line. Mining Bitcoin can be a roller coaster ride of volatility. This volatility is a constant challenge in mining. Even when the number of Bitcoins earned per block stays the same, the actual revenue miners take home can expand or shrink overnight based purely on market conditions. But miners don't get this money for free. Mining isn't just competitive, it's expensive, and the costs never stop. The biggest drain is electricity. In most operations, power alone can make up more than 75% of a miner's total expenses. Every ASIC machine pulls thousands of watts, running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, endlessly hashing, whether that miner finds a block or not. And electricity is just the beginning. Miners have to constantly invest in hardware. Modern ASIC miners cost anywhere from $2,000 to over $10,000 each, and they become outdated quickly as more efficient models hit the market. Then there's cooling. These machines run hot, very hot. Facilities rely on huge fans, industrial air conditioning systems, or even high-end immersion cooling tanks to keep temperatures under control. Without proper cooling, performance drops and machines fail. Another potential overhead cost for miners is renting or leasing warehouse space for their operation, which can be expensive where land values are high. On top of that, there's repairs and maintenance. Hashboards burn out, power supplies fail, and cables fry. Skilled technicians are needed to keep a farm running smoothly. Some miners also pay hosting fees if they place their machines in a third-party facility, and large operations have additional overhead, warehouse rent, insurance, networking equipment, and staff. All these costs pile up, creating a constant financial pressure. Even before a miner earns a single Satoshi, their electric meter is spinning like crazy, money flowing out long before any comes in. To stay alive in the mining business, it's not enough to simply earn Bitcoin. Miners must earn more in Bitcoin value than they spend keeping their machines running. This threshold is called the break-even point, the moment where profit turns into loss. And reaching that point isn't easy, because it constantly shifts with three major forces. First, the price of Bitcoin. If Bitcoin rises, miners earn more for the same amount of work. But if the price falls, that same block suddenly becomes worth much less, sometimes not enough to cover the electric bill. Second, the network difficulty. Difficulty adjusts every 2 weeks, and when it rises, miners must work harder, burning the same electricity, but receiving a smaller slice of the rewards. It's like the treadmill is speeding up while you're already sprinting. And third, the cost of electricity. Even small changes, just a few cents per kilowatt hour, can make the difference between healthy profit and deep losses. Since electricity is a miner's biggest expense, miners constantly hunt for the cheapest possible energy. These three factors form a delicate balance. When one of them moves in the wrong direction, when difficulty spikes, or Bitcoin drops, or power costs increase, the triangle tightens around the miner. Their profit margin gets squeezed, and survival becomes a daily challenge. Mining isn't always profitable. In fact, there are times when miners actually lose money every single day they stay online. This happens when operating costs, especially electricity, become higher than the Bitcoin a miner earns from block rewards and transaction fees. At that point, every mined block represents a loss, not a win. These conditions most often appear during bear markets, when Bitcoin's price drops but mining difficulty stays high. They also commonly happen right after a halving, when the block reward is suddenly cut in half overnight, while electricity bills stay exactly the same. Another major risk comes when difficulty rises faster than price. New, more efficient machines join the network, pushing competition higher. Older machines can't keep up, and their profit margins evaporate. When this pressure builds, miners are forced to make hard decisions. Some shut off their least efficient machines to stop the bleeding. Others downsize operations, renegotiate power contracts, or relocate to cheaper energy regions. And unfortunately, some miners don't survive at all, going bankrupt or being forced to sell their Bitcoin reserves just to pay bills. This cycle repeats again and again. Weak miners get pushed out, while the most efficient ones remain. It's brutal, but it's also how Bitcoin continuously strengthens its network. To stay profitable in the long run, successful Bitcoin miners have to constantly adapt. The biggest advantage any miner can have is cheap electricity. That's why miners aggressively search for the lowest cost power available. Because even a few cents difference per kilowatt hour can mean the difference between profit and shutdown. But electricity isn't the only factor. Hardware efficiency matters just as much. Older mining machines consume far more energy for the same amount of work. A machine running at 60 joules per terahash simply can't compete with a newer model operating at 17 joules per terahash. As the network gets more competitive, inefficient machines are slowly pushed out. Location also plays a major role. Many miners set up operations in colder climates, where natural cooling reduces energy costs and extends the life of their equipment. That's why mining hotspots have emerged in places like Iceland, Texas, Paraguay, and Georgia, regions known for abundant energy and favorable conditions. Some miners go even further by tapping into renewable or wasted energy sources. Hydroelectric power, solar, and wind help stabilize long-term costs. Others capture energy that would otherwise be wasted, like natural gas flaring from oil fields, turning excess energy into Bitcoin instead of pollution. Over time, this creates a natural selection process. Inefficient miners are forced offline, while lean, well-optimized operations continue to grow. In Bitcoin mining, survival isn't about who started first, it's about who runs the most efficiently. In the end, the most efficient miners are the ones who win. Bitcoin mining is a constant battle between revenue and costs. The miners who adapt survive, and the ones who don't disappear. If you want to understand this industry from the inside out, subscribe to Bitcoin Mining World. New episodes every week.